Hi, my name is Andrew Baxley, and I am the warranty repair manager here at NEMO Equipment. And we're going to be going over if you get a hole in your sleeping bag today. So first off, some of the things that you need to do this repair, or may not need: needle and thread. There's the thread. A pair of scissors to cut your tenacious tape, and some alcohol wipes to clean off the area that you're going to be patching. All right, so let's get to it. So basically, when you're talking about sleeping bags, there's two different types of sleeping bags. There's going to be a down sleeping bag and a synthetic sleeping bag. Down sleeping bags are filled with goose down or duck down, basically feathers inside here, which then give you the insulation that you need. On synthetic bags, it's filled with polyester, kind of spongy looking material that offers the insulation that gives you the warmth that you need. Both of these we're going to patch pretty much the same way. All sleeping bags have, you'll see these stitching lines on here, and these are called baffles. So this allows the feathers or the synthetic, whichever one type of sleeping bag you have, to stay put. If we didn't have these baffles, the feathers would shift from one side to the other, and then you might get cold spots and warm spots, and this allows you have even heating throughout the whole sleeping bag. That inherently gives us the problem where we can't stitch all the way through. If we were to stitch all the way through this, we would decrease that loft, the kind of the poofiness of the sleeping bag, and then would give you more cold spots. And so we would need to keep that from happening. By doing that, we're going to accomplish that by basically keeping these two sides separate. So when we stitch it, we're either going to hand stitch it, or we're just going to put a patch over the top, and that allows the baffle to stay intact and you to keep the warmth that you need. So since we'll patch them both the same, I'll go ahead and patch the down because that has a little tougher problem of feathers. Anytime you get a hole in fabric, you get that right there where the feathers want to come out. They're very light and airy, and they get everywhere quickly. So if you ever get a hole in your bag, you want to get it patched as quickly as possible, because the more down that you lose, the colder your bag will get. So what we want to do is clean off the area. These are alcohol swabs. We're not going to use these today, but these are something you want to carry in your backpack, your repair kit in your backcountry, so that you can clean out areas that have dirt or grime or oils from your fingers or anything like that on it. We are just going to use this just so we're not creating more waste. And we're just going to get some alcohol on here. And we're going to clean this area, and we don't want to push down too much, just because that'll cause more feathers to escape. And as we're doing this, we want to kind of push those feathers back in. You can take a pair of scissors or something that's not going to do more damage and push those feathers back in, and then get that all clean. And luckily with rubbing alcohol, it dries fairly quickly. So we'll let that dry, and while we do that, we'll go over our tenacious tape. So as I mentioned, this is by a company called Gear Aid, and it's tenacious tape, and it's super sticky. When you buy it, it'll generally come in a roll, and it'll eventually look like this once you unroll it. And so you're going to want to cut your patch out of this so that it's big enough to cover at least 1/2 inch to 1 inch around whatever hole you're patching. And then after that, you're going to want to round the corners. This allows the tape to stick a little better. Anytime you have a corner like right here and you patch that with that on there, it'll start to peel up right at that corner. So we don't want that. So we want nice rounded corners and nothing that's a right angle. And obviously you can do a stitch patch on this, which we'll do after this, but for right now we're going to just show the tenacious tape. But right now we're going to let this dry, and we'll be back once this is fully dry. So it's fully dry now, so we're going to go ahead and add our patch on there. So we'll try and slowly push this down so that we don't get too many feathers that are loose, just so we have something to push against whenever we get our patch on there. So we'll peel off the backing of our patch. And then I go ahead and start by pushing my thumb in the middle, because we want to start from the middle, and we'll put that thumb right where the hole is. And because this is a little poofy, we want to go slowly to make sure we don't get too many wrinkles in there. So I generally stretch out the fabric after I get it on there, and then I'll just start to push from the inside out. And once it's kind of stuck, then we can be a little more abrasive. And if you see any wrinkles at the edges, you can try and pull that fabric out. But generally, once the tenacious tape is stuck, it's stuck. And then once you get it on there, you want to take the edge of like a pair of scissors or a knife, something that's rounded and hard, and we're going to burnish this patch into the fabric so that we try and get the glue on the tape to stick as much to each and every fiber as possible. And there we go. So no more down is going to get out of there. Now, occasionally you might not have tenacious tape on you, or you've had a bad trip where you've used up all of your tenacious tape, and you might have a hole where you need to stitch it up. So it's fairly easy to do a stitch up. So you'll take your needle and thread, which everyone should have in their little kit. And we're just going to start on the outside and go to the inside. And again, we want to make sure that the two sides of our sleeping bag are not next to each other so that we don't sew it shut. So you can put your hand on the inside of the bag and kind of make sure that that's not right next to it. We're going to start on the outside, and we're going to go to the inside. And then we're just going to go around a couple times at the very beginning just to get that held tight. And then we're just going to work our way, kind of doing a spiral all the way down that cut, making sure we don't catch on anything on the inside. Because it's never good when you get to the end of the cut and then you realize you stitched something on the inside together. And the whole time you do this, you want to try and keep as much of the feathers in, so you don't want to move too quickly or squeeze anywhere on the tent or on the sleeping bag. And if you have a larger hole, you can do a stitch just like on a smaller hole. Just might take a little longer. Once you get to the end, you'll want to do just just a couple rounds around the end, which will kind of lock that stitching in place because it tightens in on itself. And as you go down, you want to keep your stitching fairly close together. You don't have to go super close together. The closer you get it together, it might allow for ripping of the fabric. So it's a happy medium to where the feathers don't come out, but then it kind of keeps the fabric from ripping. And then after that, I go ahead and start and I go up through the middle, through all of those whips in the stitching. And then I pull that tight, and you can do it a second time just to kind of have it all pull together. And then after that, I go ahead and cut it. And I'll go ahead and tie a knot here. Might have to tie a few knots just to get it thick enough that it won't pop back through that fabric. But if you've gone through that stitching like I did, it should tighten in on itself. And it shouldn't come undone. And then after that, you can snip off the excess. And there you're left with a stitch. You can kind of clean it up, any of the feathers that escaped. And there you've got a patch. And you can feel free to put a tenacious tape patch over the top of that if you want, or this should hold. I've seen products come back where people have done stitching and it's been years where they've had it. So a lot of it depends on the quality of the stitching and the fabric itself, but either way you want to do it is fine. And again, if you don't want to do this, you don't feel comfortable, or you don't have any of the products, feel free to reach out to us via email or chat, and we'll be happy to have you send it in and we can do a patch for you and get that taken care of. All NEMO products come with a lifetime warranty, and we stand by our products, and we're happy there to help you in any way we can. Thank you so much.